Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncy-Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. All right, Kinga, I wanted to talk to you because after our conversation, I just realized you are a specialist in something that I am not fully aware of and I want to learn more about. And so I really want to talk to you about your specialization in Agile project management. And I want to know how solo entrepreneurs can apply these principles because as I was hearing you discuss it, it sounded absolutely fascinating to me. So please help me out.
I really appreciate that. I think where it came up was when I was talking about how I was an agile project manager in my career, most of my 25 years in technology. And I just felt super passionate about both topics. And I chose to leave technology and spend some time in observing how life was going. I wanted to spend some time just looking at how are people adapting in general, right? How are we going to be adapting for business and towards this economy and things that are changing? Because there were these core concepts that rung true for me. And here I am seeing that it's all about humans and it's all about just these basic execution leadership principles and digging for the truth that I think really is what made me connected to most of the leadership principles that I was just focused on, that kind of brought things and moved them forward.
Yeah, and your company execute your intentions. You really focus on informed leadership. And what does that look like for a solo entrepreneur, you think, who doesn't have a team to delegate to?
It's so funny that you bring up delegation. It's something that I have a relationship with ChatGPT and other open because I press really hard. I pressure test, and you hear a lot about iterating and testing, and that is something that the technology world has figured out. And I call it pressure testing. It is putting something in a vacuum where you want to break it down to a small level and just really look at it in a small chunk and go, can I pressure test this? Can I understand this concept on a very deep level? And to me, understanding the truth of the matter and with an unbiased, and can I dissect this and can I study it from every angle and make sure that I'm not looking at it from a biased perspective, that I am studying it like it's a piece of art. And I know that sounds really corny, but it's how I believe that studying something should feel. When you can, almost like a sculpture in the middle of a room, I'm putting it on a pedestal and I'm looking at it from different angles and I'm walking around it and I'm looking at it going, okay, I know I'm going to come with some kind of bias. I'm going to assume that I have a bias because I've had life and I've had experiences and I've had traumas, assuming that. Then I can look around at somebody. Here's Michelle standing in the room. What if I try to step in her shoes and look at her expressions and see how she's responding to it? What if I try to look at it from that lens? Maybe I'll look at it different. What if I stand next to the person standing next to her and try to see it from their lens, right? When you can do that, then you look at problems very differently. And all of a sudden you see new solutions, you see the different perspectives, and I think that you can lead in a new way.
Mhm. And I've always thought about the idea of putting something in to a tool like ChatGPT as that way to get out of my own head because I only ever bring myself to the table. It's like I've had my thoughts, I know my way of being, and sometimes I need that fresh perspective.
Yeah. I mean, today I challenge ChatGPT all the time. I'll go in and I'll say, but I know now that it's supposed to reflect me, right? So I'll challenge ChatGPT and I'm like, I know that you're reflecting me. And so I want to know the truth. I want to know that is where and so I'll say, I push the boundaries and I enjoy that because to me, critical thinking is just so important that I don't lose this. And it knows that about me. And so then I'll even ask that, right? I'll be like, are you just saying that because you know that I'm pushing the boundaries? But to me, I'll come up with theories and I'll say, take me down this path. And then I'll be like, are you just saying that to appease me? Now prove me wrong. Take me down a different path and I'll see if it can. So I think that it's fun to play devil's advocate with myself. And I think that is how we challenge ourselves to see, let's start digging into the data. I became a very data-driven person early in my life because I actually was good at math and I was influenced early in my life to I enjoyed data. I like data mining. I think it's fun and nerdy like that. I like categorizing things. I'm one of those people that just like to look at information and tag it. Just a weird thing.
Find order in the chaos.
Yeah, I do. I love organization. I'm a minimalist at heart because when I look at a lot of chaos, I'm like, how do we make sense of this? I think that the way that my brain can comprehend it all is to start chunking it up and categorizing it and bucketing it. And so when I look at the way that we relate to one another, it's a really complex system. And leadership is even more complex and is moving constantly. The way that we look at problems, the way that we talk about problems, the way that we relate to our customers, the way we relate to each other. So if you think about stakeholder management, it's real because we are concerned about what they want. We're concerned about what our customers want. What is a business owner? There's just so much to manage and there's our own interests. And when we think of people's motivations, I am a firm believer in that. That we have these needs that are well beyond just the individual, it's the societal needs. And when we really get into that, how do we organize?
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, decision fatigue, you're touching on something that I think a lot of us face, especially if we're doing the solo entrepreneur thing. How do you advise that business owners structure their decision making so they can try to stay aligned with their goals without the burning out of wearing all the hats?
Decision fatigue is so real.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful podcast that I love. She is based in Australia. I might have mentioned her, Alexis Fernandez. Do you effing mind? And love her. But there's an episode where she talks about looking at a menu. And if we think about these really complicated menus, and you can spend half your dinner agonizing over this menu. And what fun is that? Did we really accomplish the goal of human connection? I see something that I like, and then we get to spend the rest of the time just really feeling this connection with somebody. And I think about how many times at the end of the day, I would be like, someone just make a decision. I don't care.
How do you feel like entrepreneurs can capitalize on AI to create that self-organizing system in a business that allows them to be efficient without that need to micromanage every detail?
Yeah. I look at it like I love analogies. And I think about when, and maybe it's oversimplification. Tell me if you think it is, but I think about like when you're building a house and you have a foundation and you just need this super solid, grounded foundation of the house. And so you want to know, okay, the basics. I just need to know that I want to, for example, with me, I really think that it is important that when businesses are forming, they understand what their purpose is, who they're trying to serve. So for me, it is grounded in the purpose of helping leaders understand that they want to propel, they're in hyper growth and scaling. And today that looks different than it did just even a few years ago because of AI, which is cool, but that they understand who they are, who they want to serve, what their purpose really is, that they feel pretty solid about it, and that they're willing to lead with conviction around it. So that's their foundation, and that they're going to start forming this heartbeat, right? Beyond that, I believe that there is a framework. So if you think about building the frame of a house, it's almost like a three-dimensional box that gets drawn. And so we don't have to worry about defining too much of it because the people that come in and out over time are probably going to change some of it. We want their input. Things change. We want to be able to accept that. But yet, we're not going to just knock out walls willy nilly, right? There has to be a general structure so that people can come in and understand what is going on. They need to understand the layout. They need to understand the general source of truth. And so that is very important to know so that they know where they fit in. And so having that foundation, having that general structure is in place. That's important. Don't want it to be too siloed, right? A lot of times we build artificial walls too. And I think that is a lot of our mistake in life is that we start as leaders leaning a little too heavily on what we traditionally have been taught. It's comfortable, it's safe. It's something that we don't, I call it the zoom in, zoom out. We don't step back, question our assumptions. We don't question like doing that just because it's like traditionally what we've always done. Am I asking myself, or am I really starting from square one, right? Do I have to do that? Who's telling me that I have to do this? And I think when we ask ourselves that question more often, we become really innovative. And this is the time to be innovative. It can be just super exciting because it's the time for us to tear down some of those artificial. Do you remember when houses started getting built and all of a sudden it was like open space? Oh, no, wait, we don't have to do these closed off houses. And we keep changing, right? Architecture changes over time. So it's re architecting.
And that's what I was wondering about because I'm wondering, do you see some early warning signs that people, a business owner or a solopreneur can look for? Maybe they're resisting some of that innovation or some of that change. How do they break through that mindset to move from the traditional to the innovative?
Absolutely. And that's the biggest question. The mindset is the biggest problem because it's easy for me to say it's ego. And it is because I've faced that challenge often, but I've also seen good leaders face that challenge too. And I think that it's when you have something ingrained in society, when you've only seen things done in one way, like it just is the only thing that we've seen that's worked. So I think that it's really important to show people that there's another way that works even better. And I think oftentimes we don't see the gaps within us. And so what has become really obvious to me recently is that there's this kind of this inability to see when there is maybe a gap between understanding each other, right? And that what makes us unique. And when we live in a world where I don't see what the problem is. If you ever feel yourself saying that, I don't get what the problem is. Why is everybody complaining about this? That is an opportunity to say someone else might see something from a different perspective, which means that's actually an opportunity for them rather than a negative thing. It is an opportunity for them because of the gap in perception. And each gap in perception is an opportunity to train AI. And right now, we are in a training situation. And I've seen people do things for positive reasons. And when you have your heart in something, and corny, but love will win, I do believe that negative things spread faster. But I do believe also that they end up backfiring. And so it is one of those things, if you understand the mechanics of it, you know that it will. I think that holding that truth just really works for me. That as long as we decide, so it's a decision. It's a decision about just, it's corny. It's really super corny, but love's going to save us.
No, corny saves the day.
Yeah, I truly believe it.
Mhm. And you also emphasize the importance of community, and I think that connects with what we're talking about here, that idea of community and collaboration. How do you recommend small business owners, solo entrepreneurs, how do you recommend that they build up a strong network so they can have that support through peers and mentorships and supporters without feeling so isolated?
Yeah, I think genuinely taking care of each other in the best way that we can. It's a lot of us, and I've expressed it before. I'm like, I'm misunderstood. I think a lot of people feel misunderstood, and it's natural because we're not all the same. And we don't want, if we're all thinking the same thing, then we aren't going to necessarily be able to be creative. One of the greatest things about creation is be able to bounce ideas off of one another. To me, that is the beauty of art, is that, and the best leadership teams was like, for me at least, and I light up because it was when I could get challenged and debate, but in a healthy way, right? It's the checks and balances. It's the way that I would pitch an idea and then someone would be like, Kinga, you're just being off the wall. And then I'd be like, yeah, I'm passionate. And then they'd tone me down. I think that understanding your strengths and weaknesses and letting yourself just be truly you, and then having somebody you trust say, yeah, and I understand you so well because I've gotten to know you over time. And it is that relationship building, and that we seek to understand one another, and it takes time to do that. Actually give that we respect each other's time just in a genuine, honest way, and that if you're telling me that you're in pain or that something is difficult for you, I'm gonna stop and listen. And so I think that we just have to it is when we say kindness and empathy, that is what it means to me to be a great leader.
Do you see any communities right now that stand out to you as being supportive in that way? Do you feel like there are some communities you've connected with that help others do that? Specifically women too, because I think sometimes it's hard to find women groups.
Yeah, I met you and She Leads AI. And for me, it's been difficult because I came from a tech background and I was not treated very well in technology. I I definitely struggled there. I never had a mentor. I never had anyone that stepped up to have my back. I yeah, I basically really have spent the past couple years trying to connect with community. I have gone into all kinds of communities and business leaders often. And I think that the She Leads AI group, it's not that everybody has to be the most tech savvy person. It is a sense of curiosity. It is a sense of we're in it together. And so far, my experience has been you can be misunderstood and we still love you. You're still welcome here. And that's a really big deal to me because I think that we don't have enough of that in this world. And that's a lot of what I present.
I'm so glad that you brought that up as well, because you're not the first person that I have heard, and I would qualify you're not the first woman that I have heard that has gone through experiences in corporate, in industry, where they were one of the few women in the room and dealt with some blowback because of that. And so I think that you're bringing up a really good point, that it's important to find those spaces. And I'm glad that She Leads AI is a space like that for you, because I think that's really what women need. Is we need to find that space where it's okay to share a strong point of view, be misunderstood, and still welcome. And because it's the diversity in the room that I think helps us, like you brought up earlier, learn those other perspectives and learn those viewpoints. It's vital that the spaces that we create for women are welcoming in that way.
Yeah.
I think it helps us deal with some of the past experiences that we've had. And I really do agree with you that AI is changing the way businesses operate. I really do think it is. And that seems to be the connecting curiosity that's pulling all of these women together. And so I'm just wondering, what do you see as some of the biggest opportunities right now? And not to be completely Pollyanna, I understand there's probably some risks involved as well. What do you see right now for business owners, opportunities and risks evolving in this new landscape?
I do. I see a lot because like I was talking about before, we represent the gap of understanding. Like, to be honest with you, I can't keep up with the women in She Leads AI because there's so many creative minds there. And these women are like, I'm not in tech. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I can't keep up with you all because I know a lot about digging into tech. And yet I'm too busy being deep into research. And yet I want to play. I love being creative too. And I think it's really fun because you think about the power of bringing together people that genuinely want to lift each other. And that's what I talk about where love is going to win in that really corny way. But it's, can you imagine what that could amplify to be? Right. And that is what I always wanted. When I think about how I was leading was and how I was able to be successful and as an agile coach and how I got leaders aligned was, hey, we have a common goal. If we pool our resources, if we understand our common goal, if we become efficient, if we, and that is how I got everybody on board. And so I just look at this group that is motivated around a gap that we have and that we're doing it from the heart. And I don't have to, and we talked about buy-in earlier, and it's finally, I don't have to fight a ton of people. I actually have people that are like, yes, let's do it. And I'm like, what? What? I don't have to fight you for this. I don't have to beg and plead. And as a matter of fact, you're not harassing me and being mean. Wow, that's new. You're appreciating. That's crazy. I don't know what this feels like. It's wonderful. And yeah, I think that our capabilities are pretty cool. I
Huh?
think that it's pretty powerful, and I think that there's just a lot that we can create because it comes from the heart. It comes from really smart, intelligent people that want really beautiful things for everybody. It's not to be this elite, we do something better than everybody else. It's not coming from this, we're going to rule the world kind of thing. It's about, we want better for everyone. Like, why wouldn't we?
And
So,
if a small business owner could implement just one new strategy today to improve that long range resilience, that adaptability, what would you recommend that they start off with?
to me, it's just being that open minded of knowing that our purpose and our focus, our bigger focus. So to me, because I am used to coaching on hyper growth, hyper strategy, hyper, and that the vision is there. That is what AI is. And we're in this mindset where we have the opportunity to be super successful, and especially with the right attitude and love and heart and all this stuff. And so if we think about it, show up, just show up for one another, show up with, and I'm not saying just give yourself freely. We're here to make money and we're here to be a part of things. But as long as we're focused and we're contributing and we are able to understand the bigger picture and all those kinds of things, then I think that we can really make a difference and that this is our time to do it. And just so be a part of this moment in time because we are not going to have other opportunities like this. I think that without sounding urgent, this is an urgent kind of moment in time.
Mhm.
I'm going to be a certain age this year, a milestone age, and I've never seen a time like this in the history of my life. And so I think this is just a really big moment that we should not let go to waste.
No, I agree with you 100%. This is an amazing disruption to be a part of. It's incredible.
Yeah, and we can make a difference and we can lead with conviction and be authentic to ourselves.
Kinga, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. I so appreciate your contributions, and I love that you're just sharing where your mind is at right now. I so appreciate it. If they want to connect with you, where are they going to go to connect with you?
I am on LinkedIn. I somehow hit a setting accidentally and lost over 4,000 followers last night or the night before. I don't know what I did, but they said I can't get them back. So I am probably going to be on Blue Sky soon, I think. But my website is executeyourintentions.com. And I recently got a domain. Look out for that soon. Yeah. So executeyourintentions.com.
I love it. Thank you so much. And we're going to help you build those followers back up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.